Up and running. We'll be live in the streets right now. Put your two fingers up if Kevin Durant had the greatest postseason performance of all time last night. A-Town down. Peace up, A-Town down. How you doing? Woo! What's up, everybody? We got two games. If they're anything like yesterday's Game 5, you're in for a boring as fuck first half, a slowly exciting third, and a standout fourth, at least for one side of the ball. He put the two signs up. Sal, let's go. What's going on, Karma? What's up, peoples? How you doing? So, big news as the NBA continues to be the sport of injuries. Taking those bets in the mornings. This is Anthony Ruiz. I don't know what that means. There must have been some comments going in before that. I could check on the app. Well, it's awesome for prize picks. Yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, anything with Kawhi won't count. If you have a Kawhi bet this morning, you don't get a loss on it. If he doesn't play a minute, it gets registered back out in the props for at least prize picks. But yeah, I don't think too much on the it's gonna go yes and no on some sides. Like if you took the over on Paul George's points, that's looking really good right now, so it'll kind of balance out. But yes, Kawhi Leonard today being out is clearly a massive, massive thing for this slate. I think it puts guys back into the rotation like DeMarcus Cousins, like Rajon Rondo. Probably not going to wear street clothes this game. At least that's my guess on it. Like he did last game. Literally just wore street clothes as a healthy scratch. But yes, it is impactful. And we can pull up what my minutes are looking like for these Clippers right now, given the updated news. And bam, there's some of the minutes you're not seeing Rondo and Cousins who combined for 18. They don't fit on the screen. Salmon Vegas, give me your best bet. I've got some play. I have Philly -6. That line hasn't moved, so you're not getting like any edge on it. So I took Philly -6 earlier today. It might have moved to like -7 depending on where you're looking, but Philly -6 I took last night, and I have a couple of props in that we can get to momentarily. But these are the minutes that I'm looking at right now. I'm expecting massive run out of Paul George. I'm expecting big run out of Reggie Jackson, Batum, Marcus Morris, right? And I think we're going to see some big man run. I think we're going to see some Zubac, some DeMarcus Cousins. It's just without Kawhi Leonard, you can't play as small as you want to play. And their only other option there is to go very guard heavy, which does not make sense against Utah. Now, Utah has a lot of guards, but when you're throwing out there Royce O'Neal, who has size, Mitchell himself is a guard who has size, right? It makes it a little bit more difficult. So like a Reggie Jackson, for example, a Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard, Paul George, Batum, Marcus Morris lineup, probably not going to go over too well. So I do think you see some more run out of Zubac. I gave him 22 minutes. I gave Cousins 8 minutes off the bench, and I now have Rajon Rondo back in the rotation in 10 minutes. If you don't think Rondo plays, you can take those 10 minutes and you get more increased run out of guys like Luke Kennard. Now, I see a lot of questions about Luke Kennard and Terrence Mann. I had them both at 14 minutes today. I would take Luke Kennard if I had to choose one. They're basically the same player today. Whichever one shoots hotter will get more extended run. But I currently just ended up taking right before the show. I took the under. I like the under 2.5 rebounds on Kennard. I also like the under 9.5 real life points on Kennard. You couldn't. I might add the 9.5 to this Bogdan over assists prop bet. But you can't take, at least on Prize Picks, you can't take two from the same player. But I do like those a good amount. So yeah, this is obviously the really big news. It's going to make this entire team, if you're playing the 2-game DFS slate, look more appealing. Obviously, if you got the -3 Clipper or -3 Utah to start this, you now have 4 more points in your favor. Thanks, man. You the man. I'm taking Philly -6. There you go. So we can look at the other teams. We can look at some of the lineups momentarily. Let's answer some of these questions. Favorite play under 4.5K today. My favorite play under 4.5. So Marcus Morris is right at 4.5. He would be my answer. But under 4.5, $3,500 right now for me is going to be Mr. Ivica Zubac, which if people have been following me, I don't think Zubac should be playing much run in this series. I don't think they have much of a choice now with no Kawhi Leonard out there, just in terms of where the rotation is going to go. You have a new top 5 question mark? Probably. Yeah, I think I do. Zubac, yeah, definitely a new top 5 without any. So we can put that up on the screen. So top 5, just know that Zubac is not a yes for me yet. He would be my favorite punt play if you were looking to punt today. If you're looking to pay up for a couple of studs, Paul George makes it easier today to not have to go up to a couple of studs. First of all, there's not a Giannis or a KD on this slate. They're playing each other, and they're not on this slate. But these are the updated top 5. Zubac is the only one who's not a yes, but Paul George being so cheap makes it easy. Donovan Mitchell being relatively cheap. Ben Simmons still being $7,600, price point not changing after dropping $45 and being very active for the first 2.5 to 3 quarters of that last game. I mean, you're really just looking at Trae Young slightly overpriced. You're really just looking at Joel Embiid. I'd say Trae Young slightly overpriced relative to the other players on the slate. Relative to himself, he can have a bad shooting night, career high 18 assists. I'm not banking on 18 assists again in career high, right? But it's relative to the other players. Like Trae Young being $9,900 and Mitchell being $9K and Paul George being $86 is kind of ridiculous. Like Paul George at $86 and Trae Young at $99. If we're talking relative to other players' price points, ridiculous. Yo, Sal, what's good? What's going on, Akil? Luke or Batum benefit more today? Batum for sure. Batum locks in a lot more minutes. Luke Kennard, there's no difference really in Luke Kennard and Terrence Mann. They're going to pick up a couple of more minutes. If one of them shoots lights out like Luke Kennard did in Game 1, they'll get a lot more minutes. Also in Game 1, Reggie Jackson was in foul trouble, and Rondo was playing big minutes, so a lot has changed since Game 1. It usually happens in these series. But don't think that now that Kawhi Leonard's out, Luke Kennard's just going to play. In the regular season, that would probably be true. In the postseason, Luke Kennard plays no defense, right? So you can't have Luke Kennard out there all that much. You can't have Luke Kennard with Reggie Jackson lineups out there all that much, and those are going to have to happen more, which is why I think Rondo plays some in this game. So not much changes for Luke Kennard. Instead of giving him 10 or 12 minutes, I gave him 14 minutes now. Not much overall changing for me for Luke Kennard or Terrence Mann outside of the idea that they could see a higher ceiling if they're shooting well. Who gets the biggest bump after the Kawhi news? Well, it kind of just goes to all over the place. Obviously, Paul George now looks like a stone cold almost lock at 8,600. Reggie Jackson slots in for instead of 32 to 34 to 36. So all the starters secure themselves for like 36 plus minutes, or the top 4 starters. I expect Zubac to now start at the 5. Marcus Morris shifts to the 4. They don't play small ball. So Zubac benefits probably the most from a fantasy perspective. And then slight minutes are just going to go all around here. I expect DeMarcus Cousins and Rondo to be in the rotation today. So that's going to take away from the upside of Luke Kennard and Terrence Mann. They'll benefit slightly. So the biggest benefits to me, the 4 starters, really all 5 starters, Zubac included in that, assuming he starts. Paul George and Zubac probably the 2 biggest. It's Red Wednesday. I don't know what that means. Sal, PG under 10.5 rebounds seemed like a good leg for a parlay today. The over-under on Paul George's rebounds today, under 10.5. It's a no bet for me. If I had to lean the over or the under, I would lean the under, though. Kennard or Beverly? Today, I'll take Beverly. Salmon Bay. So we got to answer that one. Royce O'Neal over 6.5 rebounds is very tempting today. Over 6.5 is very tempting. Over 6.5 real points. What's the prop on that? I assume it's real points. Royce O'Neal is a quality play today. Yeah, over 6.5. I'm seeing the over 7s. So, yeah, 6.5 would be a nice option for you, Akil. Royce O'Neal is interesting today because he's going to be half as owned as Bojan Bogdanovic, but they're the same player and he's cheaper. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what's going on there. He's going to be half as owned, and they're basically the same player from a point per minute standpoint so far in the postseason. So I'll take Royce O'Neal for a lot cheaper. Terrence Mann, 14 minutes of play today. He's not in a player pool for me. Luke Kennard or Terrence Mann, or just avoid the cheap guys and stick with Batum and Jackson and Paul George. Yeah, I'm going to avoid the cheap guys and stick with those fellas. There's this, and you might be saying, how are you going to get different on this slate? There's ways to get different on this slate. The fact that Royce O'Neal is going to be like 18% owned today is ways to get different. Korkmaz likely starts and will be 18% owned. Patrick Beverly will play 18 to 20 minutes and be 12% owned, right? I'd rather go for the lower owned guys in the other game, like a Matisse Thybulle, or take a chance with a Shake Milton, who could potentially enter the starting rotation today, would not be shocked over Korkmaz. I'd rather take a chance there than go and just try and punt on a Luke Kennard or a Terrence Mann. Neither of those guys seem that appealing to me. I don't really see overall upside in their minutes coming. PG at 86 is a stain, somebody says. What up, Sal? Hope you settled well in the city. Told you it would get hot. Yeah, it's fucking hot out here. I mean, nobody told you guys didn't tell me about the swamps out here. Every time you go outside, you get fucking swamp ass for more than 10 minutes. Nobody told me about the swamps. Simmons or PG? PG for sure. Hey, Sal, Kennard or Pat Bev? Better yet, who's the best leverage play of the contest were to start now? If the contest was to start now between the two of those guys, I'll take Pat Bev. In general today, it's really price point dependent. I would say that you're going to get $4,900. Royce O'Neal offers a nice leverage relative to his teammate Bojan, but himself, like, what is his real upside? 30 points, and is that really like crushing the slate for you if you don't own him? I would say that is going to continue to be Ben Simmons. He was the same leverage play last time. Ben Simmons, for whatever reason, at the exact same price point, was not owned last time out. Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, these same 2 players last time out were not owned at all. And Ben Simmons popped off right away in the first quarter. He had like 30 plus in the first half. Joel Embiid or Young? I'll take Joel Embiid. Ingles or O'Neal today? I'll take Ingles. Morris over 13.5. Thank you. Morris over 13.5 real life points today. Let's see. Marcus Morris over 13.5 real life points today. I will take the over. Ingles or O'Neal? Ingles. How many Clippers is too many Clippers today? Well, I have interest in 6 Clippers today. I would say 4 to 5. 4 is probably a solid option at most. Most of my lineups will contain today 3 to 4 Clippers. My single entry lineup today, and I say most of my lineups, I'm playing like 10% of my normal entries just because it's a 2-game slate. My single entry lineup is probably going to have Paul George and then some combination of Zubac, Morris, Reggie Jackson. Like those are the top 4 guys from that team that I like. Best plays on SuperDraft tonight. The best plays on SuperDraft by far and away by 11 points. Lock him in, Paul George. I have Paul George projected for 11 more points than anybody else on SuperDraft. Lock that in. And then a nice multiplier is Reggie Jackson at 1.55x. And if you're trying to get away from the Clippers, Marcus Morris looks good. Seth Curry at 1.75x is a sneaky one on SuperDraft in terms of a high 1.75x multiplier. Collins or Capella in the tiers today. So just straight up points. Do I like Collins or Capella more today? I have Collins at 28.9 and Capella at 33.4. So I'll take Capella if you're going straight up points. What up, my Vetri fam? Somebody in here taking it down tonight says Evan. Evan getting all kinds of turn up in the chat. We like that. So yeah, let's go into. These are where my early exposures are for like 20 max 150s. I don't think I'm going to play 150s, but 20 max. This is where stuff is like crunching out early on. You can see obviously a lot. And I put on high randomness and we're still getting like that much Paul George. Paul George would obviously be much higher owned if you didn't put on a lot of randomness. Paul George today is probably going to come in 75 to 80% owned. But high randomness, the fact that he's close in price point to Donovan Mitchell and somewhat close in price point to like the Ben Simmons of the world, Tobias Harris's, keeps it a little bit down. Tiers is a waste of money, somebody says. Yeah, I've never played tiers. I don't have anything against it. If you're going to play a game, look, it's different because it's tiers is basically player props except peer to peer, right? So instead of using your projections to take the over unders, which is what you're doing in tiers, just trying to have the highest guy out of the bunch of 4 or 5 guys in the tier, you're going peer to peer. So you're just trying to beat other people instead of trying to beat the site or the bookmaker. Clippers minutes today. Yes, the Clippers minutes are on the screen right now for you. The only ones not showing are Rondo and Terrence Mann, who are right here. They just don't fit on the screen. I could easily make them fit on the screen, though, if I wanted to, just by doing something like this. And that. So there you go. There's the Clippers minutes, although I don't like how small it gets. That's kind of annoying. So that's why we like to zoom it in. But there's the Clippers minutes right now. I'm putting DeRozan and Rondo back, or DeMarcus Cousins and Rondo back into the rotation. Where do you get your ownership projections? I basically have like a beta on my end that I've been running for basically a year now. And then I also use like 3 or 4 different places in the industry. And those places are like data hubs. So they, like one's called Fantasy Data. It's basically like Sports Data IQ. They just APIs. That's basically what they are. Like they'll just automate it all and update it, which is nice. And I'll look over like 3 to 4 and see what it is and then kind of compare it to my own. But I'm trying to aggregate data. I've been trying to aggregate data now for the last year. COVID kind of messed that up and took me a year back of what I'm trying to do with it, to just try and keep it in-house, but completely fine looking at all the massive data sites. Like if you're thinking of what Sports Data IQ is, it's like PFF is for stats for actual NFL teams, and if fantasy players, that's kind of what Sports Data IQ does in those types of sites. I think FTN's making a data site. I'll be definitely interested depending on what the price is. If it's not ridiculous, I'll definitely be interested in looking into what their data plan looks like, because the more information to data, the better. The more your projections look solid, right? The more inputs that you have, the more historical data on ownership slates you have. Yo, the dry heat ain't bad. The Florida humidity, though, is no joke. Florida humidity is bad, but Austin, Texas, in my opinion, is not dry heat. It's not ridiculously humid like I'm sure Houston is. And yes, Florida is disgustingly humid. Yeah, I was just there like a month ago. I told you I moved out of Texas 30 days ago. CSU of the heat wave I found myself in. I don't know what CSU means, but yeah, I don't mind the heat wave too much. And I like the vibes in this area a lot more. Young or Mitchell today? I'll take Mitchell. Embiid is still the best center today. Let's see. Let's see my projections. I believe it'll be Embiid, but let's just double check. It might be Zubac. So Zubac and then Embiid, but obviously Embiid is projected for way more points than Zubac. It's just if you need a cheap option, it's Zubac. Embiid for me is second in my rankings behind Zubac, but he is by far the highest projected. Depends what you're looking for there. That humidity will get you. Yeah, the humidity has been getting me, my man. Do you like Beverly today? He's in a player pool. I have him for 18 minutes today. I've got Beverly for like 12.5 fantasy points. You're just punting with him. I'd rather punt with Zubac or whoever starts today, whether it's Korkmaz, Shake Milton, potentially Thibault. I doubt it's Thibault, though, for Philly. I'm going to just check to make sure because Philly's game starts in like an hour. So let's just make sure they don't have anything new. So game time decision for Joel Embiid and Trae Young is probable. I would not expect Joel Embiid to miss, but who knows these days. Sal, it's my birthday. Trying to win big. I got Philly, but what are your favorite props? Thanks, says Jimbo Jones. Jimbo Jones, round of applause to you. Happy birthday. How old are you now? So these are my favorite props since the news. These two I've taken. I've taken the over 2.5 assists on Bogdan Bogdanovic and under 2.5 rebounds for Luke Kennard. That's just a bank on the fact that Luke Kennard rarely comes inside the three-point line, and also that Luke Kennard might not play a lot of minutes. So that's where I'm at in terms of the props. You can tail this one down below. You get a free bet if you want to, free money match. You could use the code SAL on Prize Picks. And this is a nice one because this isn't a parlay. So I have these two together, but it's called a flex play. So if I get them both right, I 2x my money. If I get one wrong, I only lose 50% of my money. So it's pretty nice. Like at the worst here, I get to risk full wager. So say you're risking $100, you're only ever going to actually lose 50 of that. So it's not a straight up parlay, which is what I like about Prize Picks. Now, obviously, your payout goes from 3x to 2x, but you can make that decision if you want to. They have the power play option, which is basically a parlay. Thoughts on Batum? Like him. Big minutes, 36 minutes. I have projected today expecting him to start. I don't see how he doesn't start. Right now, he ranks out as my fourth overall yes at 4,600. I only prefer his teammate, Marcus Morris, for the price point more. So if you want to take advantage of that bonus on this as we get away from it, just the code SAL will get that. Let's look at some of these other minutes here. Atlanta's minutes. Not much to change here. Korkmaz plus 4.5 real life points or Seth Curry. Plus 4.5 real life points to Seth Curry today with Korkmaz. I'll take Seth Curry's side. Man, Beverly or Kennard? I'll take Beverly. Top 6 today. Yeah, we have a top 5, and that is right there. This is not factoring in yeses. This is just point per dollar top 5. You can see everything that we have. And also, this is going to be the last live stream until Monday. Tomorrow morning, I have a showdown slate video for Game 6 of Milwaukee and Brooklyn. I just recorded it. I have everything I need for it. The Vegas odds, the projections are all done. So that video is going to be up tomorrow morning, probably around 8 or 9 a.m. But after that, that's the last piece of NBA content until Monday. The only place you'll get the content Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is in the Patreon because I'm going to be heading to the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. I'm going to be hiking and chilling out, relaxing in Denver, going to a baseball game, drinking some brewskis with two of my buddies. So desperately need that in terms of the dog days of summer and just grinding around the clock, these NBA playoffs. I don't think I've had an off day since the last vacation I took, which was, I don't even know when, Florida, like 5 weeks ago. So yes, cool. Or not even last off day. So if you want anything, if you're a patron, you can just expect that the projections, the ranks, the optimizer, all the other sports will be coming there. Favorite play that isn't a Clipper today. My favorite play that isn't a Clipper today, it's a toss-up between Donovan Mitchell and Ben Simmons, and it's the same exact analysis as last time. Ben Simmons is massively lower owned, so the answer for me is probably going to be Ben Simmons. So Donovan Mitchell today, I expect him to be one of the highest owned guys in the slate. I expect Ben Simmons to come in with half the ownership as Donovan Mitchell. So Donovan Mitchell ranks out higher for me right now. Ben Simmons. Donovan Mitchell ranks out as my number 6 play. Ben Simmons my number 7, but Simmons coming in with half the ownership. So Ben Simmons, unless you're looking for a cheap option, then Joe Ingles. George or Mitchell? George. Does Zubac see more run with Kawhi out? I believe so. I gave Zubac 22 minutes. Originally, I had him at like 12. Is Cousins a good pump play? Not for me. Hey, Sal, Prize Picks question. Threes don't score on there? 3 score on there. I'm not too sure what you mean. 3-pointers count on there. Most important notes for tonight. Sorry, just joined and couldn't watch your earlier video. I know Conley and Leonard are no-go. Think Embiid going to have another game like last. Best values. I mean, I don't think Embiid's going to shoot 0 of 12 in the second half. I don't think his knee's bugging him as much as other people are making it believe so. Obviously, it's affecting him, but I don't know how much physically as more mentally, and also him just complaining of not getting his flop calls. And look, I'm an Embiid fan, but that's the truth. He was flopping all over the floor in that game. It was actually pretty pitiful in the third quarter. But most important notes for tonight. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole like 20-minute video from this morning. There's a lot of tidbits in terms of where the minutes can go, where players can come back down to earth shooting wise. But yeah, obviously Kawhi being out is going to be massive. I think it opens up Zubac for some more run. I think it brings Rondo and Cousins back into the rotation. I think people will overvalue Luke Kennard and Terrence Mann today. And Ben Simmons continues to be on their own. So yes, continue to go back to Joe Ingles for a cheap play. If you're looking for a complete punt, Zubac, and I'm running right back to the wall with my money with Marcus Morris yet again today. But Paul George is by far the best play for me today on the slate. Thoughts on fading PG? If you're playing 150s, fine. Single entry, I'm going to play him. Does Cousin get burned today? I have Cousin projected for 8 minutes. Sal, would you fade Trey or Embiid? Trey. Thoughts on Dwight Howard today? I think if anything, their adjustment should be to play less Dwight Howard. He's fine. He's playing fine, but just go small ball Ben Simmons at the 5. I think that's a nice adjustment that they can make here. I'm not really there on him. Which team is now the NBA favorite? The NBA favorite is, it's a good question. I would say still the Brooklyn Nets, but not too sure how that's going. I mean, Milwaukee's favored in the next game. So Milwaukee goes back to Brooklyn. Do they become favorite? I think it might be. Is it Milwaukee or Phoenix? I don't know. I assume Phoenix gets Chris Paul back in time, but you can just check the sportsbook. I haven't checked the sportsbook odds on who's the NBA favorite. We can pull it up right now. I'm sure somebody else will know before I can pull it up. What is SuperDraft? Do they accept PayPal? I'm not sure if they accept PayPal. I've only ever used my card there, but it's legitimate. SuperDraft, you just take the multiplier format. SuperDraft normally, I think they have a $2,000 first contest tonight. Normally they don't fill. It's a multiplier. You can play whoever you want. They just are assigned a multiplier, so it's really based on projections and a little bit of ownership as always in these game theory tournaments. But if you sign up, you want to use the code SAL, want to try it out, they'll give you $25 when you sign up. Their contests tonight are right here. So this is their contest tonight. Right now, it is so the games start in an hour, right? And this contest is currently only at, which is pretty crazy. The game starts in 1 hour. This contest is only filling at currently less than 50%. So it's filling at like 45%. The game starts in less than an hour. See, 307 out of 640, $2,000 to first. So this is going to be probably your best chance to win $2,000 tonight. Out of anywhere tonight. Because this will probably fill at about 80%, maybe 85%. But that is SuperDraft. That is Super Hour Draft. But let's look at who is now the NBA favorites. So, player futures, team futures. NBA champion, Brooklyn Nets are plus 200. Jazz are plus, we can just put it up on the screen. This is via DraftKings. I'm sure other people are already saying it. This is via DraftKings. Look at the Clippers now. Without Kawhi, done for the year. Makes a lot of sense. Without Kawhi, by far your best player. They are now plus 1,000. So the favorites, honestly, I mean, the Bucks at plus 750 is a quality bet. This is a quality bet right here at plus 750. I mean, they're down 3-2, obviously, but they're favored by 3.5 points in the next game. If this goes to Game 7, I assume even on the road, the Bucks will be favored. They were favored by 2.5 points in Game 6, and they were up by 21, and it took a Kevin Durant, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, postseason performance to outdo that. So the Bucks at 750 are probably my favorite here. I don't think Kyrie comes back until the finals, probably, at least fully healthy. And Harden's probably not going to be fully healthy until the finals at best. It's out random, but are you a big Barstool guy or even a Portnoy fan? Somebody asks. I am a Portnoy fan, yep. I actually was listening to the Dave Portnoy show today. I like his podcast. I just like how candid he is. But at the same time, like it's just like Joe Rogan and all these other podcasts. Once you get to a certain magnitude, if people are only watching clips that people who are trying to cancel people on Twitter posts, you look like an asshole. But if you actually watch people's content, you realize that they're, pretty decent human beings. You don't get to that point, I don't believe, without being a decent human being. But yeah, I'm actually I'm a Portnoy fan. A Barstool fan, I'm not against Barstool. I like Barstool, but like I'm not like a stoolie. I like Dave Portnoy. I like his show. Sometimes I listen to Part of My Take. That's about it. Like I don't even really know any of their other podcasts for the most part. I know they have the big golf one, Foreplay, right? They have a big hockey one, I think. But yeah. Suns and 4 and Tommy Cheeseballs. Great episode. Yeah, I listened to that today. I didn't even know who Tommy Cheeseballs was until that. I looked it up. Pretty cool. I'm a big Jersey Shore guy. Love that show. KD had to have the performance for them to barely win. Yeah, so that's the thing. I already took Milwaukee minus 3.5 tomorrow. Already took that one. That'll be in the tomorrow morning's video. I took Milwaukee minus 3.5 early this morning. I was like, I'm getting that line because that's a great line. I mean, Milwaukee favored by 3.5 points is great. It's great. They were favored on the road by 2.5 points last time. So now they're only getting a point to go back home. Nothing really changed. KD had a historic performance. James Harden was 20% of himself. Not great. Joe Harris is still struggling. It took Jeff Green shooting 7 of 8 from 3. Sal, peace out. Shake or Rondo? I'll take Shake if I had to pick one. Thoughts on Huerter today? I like Kevin Huerter today. He is a yes for me. Kevin Huerter is one of my... How many yeses do I have today? So on this 2-game slate, priorities today for me, there is 11, and Kevin Huerter is the last of those. Bortles over Durant, somebody says. Don't know what the fuck that means. Morris over Batum? Yeah, Morris over Batum for me. George or Mitchell? Straight up, George. I have George for 57.2 fantasy points and Mitchell for like 50 flat, something like that. Mitchell for 50.2. Would you play Batum and Morris together? You sure could. Does Zubac see more run with Kawhi out? I believe so. Howard or Zubac? Zubac. Gobert a good play tonight. Quality option, but I'm going with Zubac as a punter, Joel at center. I'm not going to go Gobert. Last game, Embiid was not in the winning lineup. That's correct because Embiid stunk. Last game, Joel Embiid. If you want to look at last game and say that him not being in the winning lineup is indicative of today, the only way you have an actual leg to stand on is if you blame it on his injury, because none of us really know how he feels, but I can't combat that because maybe he is hurt. But Joel Embiid shot 20% in that last game. He started off the game shooting 4 of 8. He shot 0 of 12 in the second half. He was flopping left and right. He was not getting back on defense. His head was not in the game. He was definitely fatigued. Maybe his leg was bothering him. He was clearly pissed off by the refs not calling any foul. I mean, the guy was going up on one knee, putting it in one hand, and like falling down. Like, this was as bad at flopping as it gets. Like, the NBA is full of flops. This is as bad as it gets nonstop, right? But what is not pictured is he shot that bad and scored 50 fantasy points, 21 rebounds, right? So Joel Embiid, he's going to be fine. Will he be in the winning lineup today? I'm not sure. You're going to have all the money in the world. He's dirt cheap himself at $10,500, the most expensive on the slate. There's enough value from a Zubac to all the low 5K options like a Joe Ingles and all the 4K options like a Batum and a Marcus Morris. There's more than enough value today to play Joel Embiid, Paul George, and that's going to be probably the chalkiest lineup today. Start with Joel Embiid and Paul George. Get yourself Marcus Morris, get yourself Batum, and go from there. Like, that'll probably be chalky. One way to pivot off of that is just go to Royce O'Neal, right? Go to Seth Curry, those types of guys. But they were on the road. It was a crazy Atlanta atmosphere. John Collins tip slams left and right in the third quarter. It was fucking incredible. Trae Young driving to the basket every play and dishing it for threes. It was an insane environment. Joel Embiid shooting 0 of 12 and a half again is probably not going to happen, especially when that 0 of 12, I mean, he only shot 2 shots at the rim in the whole game. One of them was the missed layup at the end to lose the game. 2 shots at the rim. Joel Embiid, 2 shots at the rim when he was dominating them. So obviously the injury might be a little bit there, but he's shooting jump shots. Why are Joel Embiid and Giannis shooting jump shots? How did you get there in the regular season? You got there by scoring 30-plus points, by leading the league in points in the paint, the two of them, right? Somebody said he took himself out mentally. I agree with you. Yeah, it was terrible to watch. It was like painful to watch. Joel Embiid, third quarter. His team is like clearly a momentum shift is happening, and he's just laying on the floor on the opposite side of the court or like walking back or barely jogging back. It's 5-on-4 for like a good 3 to 4 minutes of the game. That's fair. Sal, Jackson and Ingles or Simmons and a 3K guy in the utility? I would go Jackson and Ingles. Entering a solo bullet into the MME because I like losing money. Who's the punt play you suggest? I think that Zubac will be a nice punt play at 3,800. You might be saying he's going to be so highly owned. I don't think so. Zubac will not be top 10 in ownership today. If he starts, maybe he bumps up, but I don't know how you don't expect him to start today. I don't expect him to go small ball. If you're looking for an extreme punt other than Zubac today, let me see who we got for you. Zubac would be that punt play. Zubac, whoever starts, we'll call it Korkmaz. Extreme punt would be Matisse Thybulle, but there's really not much reason for him to be on the court. Bojan, Ingles, or O'Neal? I'll take Bojan. What do you think Sixers starting lineup will be? The exact same as last time, but I could see them putting Shake Milton in over Korkmaz, but the exact same as last time would be my guess if I had put money on it. But Shake Milton over Korkmaz would make sense. Sup, Sal, what are your projections on Cousins today? I have Cousins for 8 minutes of play today, and my point projections, let me get those for you, Mr. Good Sir, out there. I have him for 8 minutes and 12.8 fantasy points, so clearly a good fantasy point for a producer. Darius Smith says, am I a dummy? I hope not. Who's your pick to win the Open? As of right now, I have no action on the Open. Have not looked at it. I am leaving tomorrow morning early to go to Colorado, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of this week has been nonstop content. This is my 10th piece of content in the last 2 days. And now you haven't seen all of it. I've prepped out a video for tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, and then 2 for next week because my parents are coming to get ahead of some stuff then. So, unfortunately, have not looked much into the Open. But I've got myself another, 13, 14 hours, so more. I'll place somebody in the Open. I know that I've looked at the odds boards. I haven't placed any bets, though. I haven't made any DFS lineups. I plan to tonight. I have projections out. I have ownership out. I've done everything in terms of, I've not looked at the Open, but if we're talking about, placing any bets in DFS lineups, no. Have I gone into making the projections, the ranks, all that stuff? Yes. So I have a sense of where I want to go with the Open. Obviously, Xander is extremely popular, right? All that type of stuff. So many guys at crazy numbers right now in terms of being so short. That it's really hard to find those 40 to 50 to 1 numbers. It's just Paul Casey left and right every single fucking major. Yeah, man, you are. I don't know what that means. Clarkson and Ingles duo reasonable? Yeah, I think so. Korkmaz or Zubac? I'll take Zubac. What do you like? Hawks, Jazz, over under? I don't have a lean on the over unders. I'll be honest with you. I have the 76ers -6. Hey Sal, forgive me if you already addressed this, but are you doing a U.S. Open video? What's up, Rob? Yeah, we addressed them in the last 2 live streams. I am not. This week, definitely I don't have the time because traveling, I have 3 days to get in 5 to 6 days, or I have 3 actual work days to get in 5 to 6 days of normal work, right? But then also, I'm really trying to figure it out. I need to give myself some time. Hopefully this weekend hiking in the Rocky Mountains and just chilling out with some buddies will give me some time to think. I'd like to get up in the mornings and go on some walks just to think about where I want to go with the channel. Obviously NFL season, it's all NFL, but like next year, do I want to cover the NBA? I love covering it, but it's a big demand. It's every day. And not only is it every day, the biggest piece that sucks is during the regular season, there's 8-10 games a night. I have to be at my laptop from 6 to 8 to 9 p.m., 2 to 3 hours just updating projections every day. So there's like a 3 to 4 month span where if I go out, I bring my laptop to the bar. That's not fun, right? So for me, just mentally and personal life wise, I have to make a decision next year. Do I want to be, I'm going to cover the XFL if it's around. They plan to right now, knock on wood, his desk is wood, but I have to make a decision for myself after this year. Football's, it's the reason this channel exists. It's football. So we'll go XFL, but next season, like basketball, I'm not going to be making content when it starts up back in October. Until football season's over, I'll make content in January if I do, February. So I have to make a decision if I want to be covering golf or NBA next year. Obviously, NBA I would say just as equal as golf. It's every day, so it's more exciting. I like it more for DFS. I like golf more for betting. But yeah, it's going to be a tough decision. Sal, losing money even in 50-50. Who are low-owned players in cash games? You don't have to worry about ownership in cash games, to be honest with you. The only way you worry about ownership is if somebody's high-owned. Like if somebody's going to be 98% owned, like yesterday, KD or Giannis. KD was like 90% owned. Giannis was like 90% owned in a lot of cash games. You just play them. You blindly play them because not playing them puts you at such a great risk. You're trying to leverage that many people are wrong. And if they're right, which they're probably going to be right, like the payoff is not there. The payoff is actually a downside. But you don't have to worry about cash 50-50s with the ownership otherwise. Hey, Sal, which games score more tonight? Yeah, whichever one the Vegas odds have. I don't really have stances on the over-unders in these ones. The over-unders are so bulletproof. The spreads are where there's some sort of wiggle room, but the over-unders are so bulletproof and so wonky in the NBA. So they're both at like 222. The spread on the Clippers and Utah might have changed, actually. Let's see. Utah and the Clippers might have changed. Let's check that out. Reggie Jackson or Joe Ingles in the tiers today. I believe it's Reggie Jackson for me, but let me see. I have Reggie Jackson right now for more fantasy points. Ingles or Batum? Ingles. John Johnson donates $5 to the stream. I appreciate it. He says, safe travels, Sal. I appreciate your content. Who's your number one play outside of Paul George today? John Johnson, I appreciate that. John Johnson, is that like the safety for the, what's his name, for the Ravens now, is it? Or he went to a different team, the Browns, right? The Browns, is that John Johnson? Or is that Jan Johnson? Either way, I appreciate it. My number one play outside of Paul George in my projections is Marcus Morris. He's my number two play by a decent amount. Somebody says Patrick Patterson, not in for me. Ingles or Jackson, I will take slightly. So pure projection-wise, it's Ingles, but I will say, or it's Jackson, Reggie Jackson for me over Ingles in all formats. Horder and Trey or Korkmaz and Embiid? Ooh, good question. I'll take Korkmaz and Embiid, assuming Korkmaz starts. Mitchell or Paul George, and why? Paul George, because there's no Kawhi Leonard. He'll average 1.35 fantasy points per minute. I have Paul George for 7 more fantasy points than Mitchell right now. Paul George is going to play more minutes than Mitchell. I have Paul George for 44 minutes and Mitchell for 40. So more minutes and a more productive player means a better player, especially when they're at similar price points. And, oh, yeah, Paul George is cheaper. So what are your thoughts on Rudy Gobert? I'm not really there. He's in a player pool, but I don't expect to get there in single entries. I don't have him much in... let's see my ownership right now. I don't have him much in general. In 20 max and 150 builds, I have him at 29%, which is going to be probably below where he comes in. It's hard to get there because if I'm punting center, I'm going Zubac. If I'm playing utility center, it's Zubac and Embiid. And if I'm paying up for center, it's Embiid. So in his price range, it's really tough to get there because I'd rather have Ben Simmons in that price range where you get Rudy Gobert right now at 7,400. Give me Ben Simmons. Give me Tobias Harris, right? In the exact same price range. All right. Zubac or Kevin Horder? I will take Horder. Enjoy the weekend. Appreciate that, Rob. Hopefully you have a lovely weekend as well. PG-13 Fade, I'll be playing him. Yo, Sal, how's the quality of pepperoni pizza in Texas? I don't think I've had any pepperoni pizza here, to be honest with you, so I could not tell you. Sal, Reggie or Bojan? Reggie. Fade Paul George in 70% ownership. On a 2-game slate, 70% ownership and no Kawhi Leonard today is too low one for Paul George. I'd start considering fading at 90%. Somebody says he's going to snap his knee. Bojan, question mark. I'd rather have his teammate Royce O'Neal for half the ownership. Do you like Terrence Mann today? No. Shake Milton over 0.5 threes made. I like that. He's usually, I think he's on some other sites a little bit different. I think it's Milton get more run than Korkmaz if he starts. Or if he just starts to shoot well when he's in the game. 2v2, Bojan and Simmons or Mitchell and Gallinari. I love you, says Mitchell. Or Miguel. Bojan and Simmons or Mitchell and Gallo. I will take Mitchell and Gallo. Pat Bever Zubac. Give me Zubac. Thoughts on Ingles today? I like Ingles a lot today. He's one of my yeses. Yep. I like Ingles is a top 10 play. He's my number 9 overall play. He's my number 8 priority play today. How about some Birra tacos? I don't know what Birra is. I've had tacos at I forgot what the taco place is called down the street from me. But I've had tacos there at 1 a.m. and they were pretty fucking good. I got a brisket taco, but I'm not a big tacos guy, to be honest. I had fajitas at the Oasis and that was amazing. But not a big taco. I forget what this taco place is called down the street from me. It is called Velvet Taco. I had tacos there. The chicken was absolutely terrible. Probably some of the worst food I've put in my mouth in the past year, the chicken taco there. But the brisket was good. China Inu or Doge, says Aaron Waltz. Yeah, man, I'm not really in the crypto streets all that much. I have a crypto punk and I've got a little money in Bitcoin, but I'm not one of the crypto bros, I'll be honest with you. I see what you're saying. I believe in what you're saying. I think a lot of those motherfuckers are 30 to 40 years too early. And when I'm 60 to 70 years old, if I miss out on a big crypto boom, I'm fine. But hopefully I'll have my $10 million in retirement investments. Dan, basketball is what got me into your channel, says Paul. Yeah, I'm not saying the basketball is dead. I got to make the decision. Basketball is a lot. This is the third year of covering basketball. And every year it's more and more strenuous, not only on myself, my relationships, my social life, and those things as I get older. And I'm only 24, about to be 25 in a couple weeks. As I get older, those things start to matter a lot more, obviously. Especially when I have days like this week where it's just nonstop content and I'm like, fuck, I haven't even stopped to take a break. Somebody says try Torchy's. I'm not a big taco guy. Like, I'm not going out of my way to get a taco. Nothing wrong with tacos. They're quality. I'd rather have a fucking taco bowl, to be honest with you. Usually get more food out of them, but yeah, not a big taco guy. Can you play Bat Beverly with Reggie? Meh. Sure. 2-game slate, sure. Thanks for the content. Enjoy the weekend. Same to you. PG-13 going to look like LeBron when the Suns turned up the heat on him. Maybe. I mean, he was hurt. Sal, why are you lying? You know damn well Ingles over Reggie Jackson is the play. I have Reggie Jackson today as my number 3 overall play and Ingles as my number 9. So it's Reggie Jackson from me. The answer is both. The actual answer is probably both, but likely me. He's on the Rams, Jan Jackson. Is he on the Rams? Damn. I don't know why I thought he was on the Browns. Prize Picks Hawks players. I have the over 2.5 assists for Bogdanovich. Your other segment with your girl is quite comical. Thanks, I appreciate that. Yeah, we're supposed to record that later tonight. That'll put me in a body bag if I record it, but we'll see. Yeah, that segment is called Life Update. If nobody's checked it out, check it out. What you doing? Check it out. What you doing? Top 3 prize picks today. I placed the ones this morning. You're not going to get those lines anymore, but these are my top 2 from right now. Bogdanovich over 2.5 assists. Luke Kennard under 2.5 rebounds. These are the ones from this morning. And no longer is the Zubac one that appealing to me because of the Kawhi news, but over 22.5 for Marcus Morris, you're not going to get that anymore. That feels like a hit. So as long as I can get 2 out of these 3 right, because Zubac under 13.5 fantasy points does not seem likely now. Still a chance, but not likely anymore. He is on the Browns. Okay. I thought I was right. But Morris or Batum in the tiers, Morris. Alrighty, final questions. We're going to wrap this one up. We'll wrap this one up a little bit earlier. It's 5:46, not that much earlier. We'll wrap this one up a little bit earlier as your boy is dead tired, and there's not much more to break down from here. So final questions, get them in. Batum or O'Neal? I'll take Batum. Donovan Mitchell and Zubac or Mann and Trey? Give me Donovan Mitchell and Zubac. Are you running Donovan Mitchell tonight? I'm leaning to try and get Paul George and Joel Embiid. Porter and Trey Young or Embiid and Korkmaz? I will take Embiid and Korkmaz as long as Korkmaz starts. Any centers in play outside of Embiid and Zubac? Not really for me, but in a player pool for me is Rudy Gobert. Yes, Capella and Rudy Gobert are in player pools for me, but those are my 2 main ones. How many Clippers is too many in a single entry 200 person? 3 to 4 at most. Beverly going to be a good punt? Fine. Not good, but fine. Alrighty, gang. Milton get more run than Korkmaz if he starts or shoots well. Embiid projections today. I have Joel Embiid at 56.6 points. He's my second highest projected player behind Paul George. Rhetorical question. If you ain't running Donovan Mitchell, you gone. Alrighty. Zubac under 18. I have Zubac today projected for 19.8. Korkmaz or Zubac? I'll take Zubac. Batum get more involvement in the offense now? Sure. Yep. How many Clippers? Too many? A single entry? 2 or 3 to 4. Have you had any steak sandwiches in the Lone Star State? I've not had any steak sandwiches. I've had some brisket. I doubt that counts. What are your yes players from all 4 teams? You can sign up down below on Patreon to see what are my yes players from all 4 teams. If you want to sign up on Patreon, down below, you can see where all my projections are for everybody, the optimizer, all that stuff. Hey, you kicked ass on the marathon. Super proud of you, Sal. Kicking ass on all fronts. Keep it up. Good work, bro. Thanks, Joe Thompson. That's very nice of you. Thank you. Alrighty, gang. Peace out. You can sign up for Patreon if you want to get access to the Discord. We can chat it up in there a little bit before the games start for tomorrow and this weekend. I'm not making any content this weekend. There'll be a content that drops Friday and Saturday because I already prepped it, but that's for NFL. No content in the NBA this weekend. Tomorrow morning's video will be the last one until Monday. If you want to get access and be sure you're in tune for everything you need to know, get into the Discord. I'll be in there, in and out of there throughout the weekend, and all the projections, ranks, the optimizer, all that stuff will be loaded. Peace out, gang. See you in the next one. I'm dead fucking tired. Shit.